Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Cookiecast. Today on Cookiecast, it's a brand new podcast, ladies and gents. That's right. It's the stats mistress herself, taking on the helm of her very own podcast. Never let it be said that Cookiecast snoozes on a new podcast. We're always there, always open to ideas for new podcasts and things like that. If you've got an idea for a podcast, why don't you give us a shout? While you're doing that, jump over to YouTube and give this guy a watch, because this one does have a video. And while you're there, subscribe, like, share, tell your friends, all that. So yeah, here we go. This is Cookiecast Up Liante. Go.
Top one.
Yeah?
Yep.
Yeah.
We're on. Oh man, I just knocked my microphone.
I mean, that's
Pop cover.
probably the best way to start. Blow everyone's eardrums out.
Start as we mean to go on.
I'm sure.
Messed up.
It's very cramped.
Bit squashed. So, here we are. You want me to go? Another episode of Cookiecast?
Another episode of Cookiecast, but not any episode of Cookiecast. It is the dark...
Wait, no.
The whole...
No.
You can't see...
No.
Getting...
No.
Bullshit cast.
No.
Zombie cast.
No.
Techie cast.
Digging up the dredges of the archive.
Zombie cast has had a big uptake recently. I can't think why. It's not like anybody's
People can
preparing
relate.
for the end of the world.
Looking for tips. No, this is introducing a brand new podcast.
You know what that means?
What?
That means that I can take off the whole avocado, the blurb that says the newest podcast on the Cookiecast network.
Really? You will have to
It will
cut
no
and paste
longer.
it to
I will.
another one.
So, what? I don't want to interfere.
Okay.
I want to tell you how to do your job.
Okay.
But with a new podcast, it's usually like a little bit of a backstory, which brings you up to the point in time where the podcast gets a name, and then you reveal the name.
Backstory as to how we've reached this point in time.
Yeah. Why we're here.
Why we're here.
What we're doing. What you're doing.
What I'm doing on the podcast.
Why you're here. Why you're doing a podcast.
Why am I here?
What drove you to...
You've pushed and
Insanity.
pushed until I've given in to do a podcast.
I
And
mean...
this. This will be... Do you want me to give you a flavour of what the podcast will be covering?
Well, it'll be games, movies, TV show, and going to the gym.
Close. But not quite.
No.
No. There will be games, but they will be my games. My genre of games, which, for those of you that don't know, which nobody knows, Switch. It's not a Switch.
Oh, sorry, I got confused.
It's a Switch. Currently Switch. I've always leaned more towards the Nintendo console and their games.
Okay.
Yeah? You looked puzzled then. No?
Nintendo's a company, not a console.
The Nintendo consoles?
Yeah.
Yeah. I said Nintendog then, by accident.
Nintendo's, that was great.
It wasn't.
No, it wasn't, it was rubbish.
So yes, there will be a section on games. There will be a section on my choice of exercise, which will be a very short slot. And...
CrossFit.
No, I've never done CrossFit. And there may be some snippets on movies, as and when that's relevant. And my genre of movie is horror, so I will tend to focus on horror movies.
Okay.
Okay. So that's a quick and short brief of what might be covered. There'll be other random things as well that I might think of. I don't know the frequency that this podcast will occur, so it depends what happens over that duration of time. I think it'll be fortnightly rather than weekly.
Okay.
Yeah, is that alright?
It's fine by me.
Okay.
by the end of the week, I'll be podcasting from a bunker somewhere.
It will be a daily podcast on
be...
how to survive the coronavirus
Can't
apocalypse.
say coronavirus.
Why not?
Because you'll get demonetised. So all the money that you make from your podcast, no pennies for you.
Why?
Because you can't say.
Why not?
I say the virus. Could be T-virus, could be...
Why can't you say it?
C-virus.
Whose rules are these?
Part of the... I presume I'd go with YouTube.
Okay, they don't like you to say...
C-virus.
The CV.
Just say T-virus. Because that's essentially what it's
Because
going
that's
to
what
become.
it is. Disease X.
Disease X.
That was a thing in the news recently. They always knew that it was coming.
Who knew?
The media.
The fucking
I don't know,
media.
the scientist. Somebody knew.
The media.
Anyway, we
Digress.
Have you ever divulge?
Have you ever done a podcast?
Yes. Yes, that is the point of a podcast, isn't it? So that's a quick backstory on what I intend to cover. It will evolve.
I was going to say, I mean, its format sounds familiar.
Mm-hmm.
Can't think of where I've heard that format before.
Yes, yeah. This is new. But that wind. Not mine. This will be, from my point of view. I won't be whinging about life or drivers.
You want to talk drivers? Let's talk about Volvo drivers. My fucking God.
Rein it in. Save that for next week.
For this podcast?
No, for
so
yours.
let me get a few things off my chest. So let's talk about the bad driving structure that is out there on the roads in the UK, shall we?
Let's not. Nobody cares.
I care.
You do. Care a little bit too much. Anyway.
So.
Yes.
Are you ready to unleash the name of your podcast?
I am. Do we need to give credit where credit is due?
Credit where credit is due. So, originally, Lianne was like, I've got to do a podcast. I've got to get all this stuff off my chest. I just feel that podcasting is the future and it's the way forward. If I give you £150,000, what do you think to letting me go on the Cookiecast network? I said that it's a $350 minimum. Long story short, we split it at $250 with like ad points and stuff like that. It's boring business stuff. So I was like, okay, what format have you got? She told me the format. I said it sounded very familiar. Then I was like, what are you going to call it? And she was like, I want to call it Wife of the Party. And I was like, oh shit. So I had to very delicately break to her that there was already a podcast. Not only there was already a podcast called Wife of the Party, there was already a podcast called Wife of the Party run by someone who wasn't called Lianne. What are the chances? I don't know. But that led to a conversation that you weren't part of.
Yeah, I was.
You were not part of this.
No.
So I came back at one point and I was like, I know you're a massive Bert Kreischer fan. I know you're a massive Lianne Kreischer fan. That's largely where this came from. So, what about a tip of the hat to both of those people and call your podcast Liantics? I'm not going to say it didn't fly, and I'm not going to say I got shot down, because that's not the kind of person I am. I can't admit my own faults. But that sparked conversation. Definitely wasn't in a meeting when we should have been doing work, where I was saying to some of the people I work with, who are also podcast alum, or were until, the virus got involved, that Lianne was absolutely desperate to start doing a podcast. And it was struggling to come up with names, but we wanted to go with you wanted to go with like a Lianne-based theme. And
did I?
Literally, not even a split second passed, and Sam Muscroft, straight, quick as a snap, just went with
Up Liante.
Up Liante. And
Up the Liante? Because you would up the ante?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Up the Liante.
Yeah. And I just was like, well, there we go. And I sent you a message. I was like, I know you're desperate to get this podcast off the ground. You've been struggling with names. You know, the Tuesday morning podcast, One Bear, One Cave.
These are all names that are taken, and they were all springing to mind. Wife
of the Party. All of this sort of stuff. It's just a little bit too reminiscent of a few other things. LTF. It just wasn't going to fly. So I was like, Sam suggested Up the Liante, and
which is funny because it has my name in it. It's based on a common phrase that I use all the time.
Podcast names. A lot of podcast names go with the old like puns and stuff.
Maybe is it not just Up Liante? Because the L is instead of the.
I believed it was Up Liante.
Maybe that is right. As I said, I wasn't party to the conversation.
You weren't.
Maybe we should have had this conversation before just launching into it, to have understood the nature of the title.
The nature of the beast.
Yes.
Okay,
so Up Liante.
Up Liante.
That is what you are currently listening to, if you were wondering, if you've only just tuned in. If you're wondering what the hell you're listening to. Okay, so that is the title.
That's the title.
That's where we're at.
Movies, games and TV.
Not TV. Nobody's talking about my TV habits.
I think somebody is somewhere.
Probably somewhere.
Probably in a government agency, I imagine.
I don't plan to discuss it on this podcast.
No?
No.
So, games and movies.
Yep.
Okay.
And running.
Running.
That was my choice of exercise. Running and training for a big event. 10 mile. Having not run properly for a good 18 months.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's like a journal.
A journal. An ode to my trainers. It can be like a journal. If that's what you want it to be.
I don't want it to be anything. I'm literally there.
You did. You wanted me to do a podcast.
I didn't want you to do a podcast. I'm just here for the first episode. I, as in a lot of situations, I'm a facilitator.
A facilitator, yeah. So this isn't really an episode. This is just a quick intro, an overview.
Snippet.
Yeah. So can I talk? Shall I go? I gave you a heads up of what I was going to cover. I'll give you a little bit more in depth. So the running training. I'm trying to get back into the running thing. I've been struggling, so I thought the best way for me to do that is to sign up to an upcoming event, and that will force my hand into training. So my intention is to sign up to a run in October, which gives me about 6 months to train and get back out there. And I want this podcast to... you look puzzled. Okay.
Trying to do the maths.
It's more than 6 months at the moment, but by the time I actually get going.
And by the time this podcast comes out.
True. I'm not always going to bear that in mind, though, the time lapse difference between...
That doesn't matter.
So it gives me 6 months to train, to get back into it, and I'll use this podcast to try and keep me accountable as a reason to have actually been out and done some running, so that I can come and update everybody on my progress and the reaching my goal, I guess. So that running has not yet started. I've done bits and pieces over the last few weeks. My intention is actually to go out tomorrow, but I usually have found that I remember that I was planning to go for a run after I'm already in the shower, or I've already missed that opportunity and thought I should have gone for a run. So I have to leave my clothes out the night before, so there's a visual reminder in the morning that my run is on the agenda. Also means I don't have to find the running clothes, and I can just get out and do it.
They say you're supposed to go to bed
wearing
in your running clothes.
I've heard that before, yeah. Wear your gym clothes. It saves the job. Because half the battle is just taking that step out the door. Whereas if you're already dressed and raring to go, you can just jump straight out.
You're preaching to the converted on that one. I honestly don't know what it is, but I do a minimum of 2K nearly every day.
Yep.
And all I can think off the back of that is I used to do 10Ks.
Yep.
How the fuck did I do that? It baffles me beyond belief.
We were in a different place then, and I think we used to go out for morning runs together.
We did?
What, 5 out of 7 mornings or something?
Yep.
No, maybe not 5 out of 7. We did it 3 times a week, midweek. We do every other day.
No, it was like...
Did we do every morning?
It was 5 out of 7. We only had 2 rest days. That's
Right.
how I've always operated.
There
was a point where I only used to have 1 rest day from various things.
And I think at the point when you were getting into the running, I was at my peak of running. So I was your sort of encouragement to get up, get dressed and go out, and pushing you to run further than...
I used to say phrases like, and I use this in more than one occasion, more than one situation, I would use phrases like, I'm not running to a run. Because we were on a Wednesday morning, we used to train hills.
Yes. Yep.
Hill sprints.
Yep.
And you'd be like, you were always like, oh, we should be running to the hill to do the hill sprints.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we're going to do hill sprints. Why would I run there?
It'll get you there quicker.
And we always, like, when me and like some of the lads used to go and do the park run, we'd always be late. So they'd be running to the start line. I'm like, we're about to do a 5K.
Wasting energy.
Why would I run to the start?
Yeah.
So yeah, you were that encouragement at that point in time.
And then you were your own encouragement, because then you were running home from work.
Yeah, when I was working in town and like running home from work at that point in time, there was a large amount of, if I don't do it, I'm not getting home.
Yeah.
I could have got on the bus, but I hated getting on the bus at that point in time. It would have taken me longer, especially when I moved out of town. I worked out that I could actually get home quicker than using the buses, because it was 2 buses to get home doing that. And there was this huge, if I don't run home, I'm not going home. And there's an aspect of that now that I think if I was at work and my only way to get home was walk or run or whatever, it would force my hand.
You twist your arm, yeah, into doing something. But things are too convenient now.
But that's not the case, and that's not the place I'm at the moment, and that's not to say that I spoke about it this week on my podcast that I was talking about how I know the running that I'm doing isn't right, because it largely isn't running.
Yep.
I'm just doing that 2K. And something has come up recently about doing X number of steps or X amount of distance a day over a week, and how people were doing, like, was it 50K a week? And I was like, that's easy, I could do it. Oh wait, no, that's 10, if you did it 5 times a week, that's 10K a day. And I do 10K in a week, and there was that realisation that I used to do 10Ks, and now I do 10Ks in a week.
Yeah.
And it's depressing, but I'm not there. I'm not in that
And that's
space.
not your focus either. You're not all about... Running is my only form of exercise, apart from having cycled to work, which isn't a thing at the moment. So running is my only form of exercise. That will be my sole focus, whereas you focus on the weights and the toning as well. But on the next episode, I will actually go into sort of what running I've done before and where I was at. And
well, I didn't know, because I was going to say, did you want to... A bit like why people would come back to listen to you. What is your like expertise around running? Like how much running do you have under your belt up till this point?
Well, that's what I wanted to cover in my next one. Yeah. You want me to do it now?
I don't know. Are you going to do a whole episode on running?
Not just on running, but that was going to be the content. Otherwise, it would have just been a podcast saying, "Yeah, I've been for a run." Well done, me.
I don't necessarily think that's true.
But I do. I have. I don't know how long I've been running for. In fact, it was 2008 when I did the Great North Run. And that was the first sort of big entry required run that I did.
How far is the Great North Run?
It's a half marathon, so 13.1 miles. Yeah. And it was with my mum that I started running. She would just encourage me to try and go out running. And we would just go and run round the strays, just round the field, and just lap the edges. And I would just try to run for as long as I could. I'd stop and walk a bit and then just run a bit further. And the only measure of sort of distance we had at that point in time was a pedometer. So we'd take the number of steps that had ticked up on your run and then try to calculate it back into a distance. So I've got no idea how much actual training I did for the Great North Run. But I remember like popping paracetamol on the way round because my knees were just crunching all the way round, and it took me. I was in so much pain. I didn't even wear I didn't have running trousers or jogging bottoms or anything. I just had a pair of trousers on. It was just so unprepared to enter a 13-mile race.
I mean, that to me is baffling anyway, because I'm very much if I'm going to do something, I need all the kit. I need all the equipment.
I didn't want to risk, because they were the trousers I'd learnt to run in and I'd always run in. I didn't want to risk changing the trousers and getting
bad luck.
Not bad luck, but getting skin burns or chafing or anything. But that took 2 hours and 45 minutes, which is a fairly long time to cover a half marathon.
I was going to say, because there's this story about how Bert did a half marathon, and then had bet Ari, I think, and Tom May. There was this bet that he could do a marathon with no training.
Mm-hmm.
And he did the LA Marathon in 5.5 hours or something, and which ended up inspiring this Vance Hines, who was a nearly 500-pound man, to lose weight.
Okay.
And that leads on to DDP yoga and stuff like that.
Okay. I mean, that's a decent time for no training to do a marathon. Pretty good going. So, over the years, I have done a number of running events. Not loads, but steady away.
More than most.
I don't know what most people do. I've done another half marathon. That was the Leeds one. In that time, I've done a full marathon. I've done the 10-miler 3 times, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's been some 10Ks and things in there. So my intention is to A, get back into shape, but B, just get that fitness level back up with a focus.
Well, I was going to say, what is the goal?
The goal is just to be active again. Make time for running. It's a weird thing because I kind of hate running. And I hate the way that it makes you feel and how you can go from one week you have a good run, or one day you have a good run, and then the next one you'll go out and try to do exactly the same distance, even the same route, and it's horrendous. I hate it, but I also know that I've been able to do it before. I've gone from nothing to being able to run, and it's that level of fitness that I can get back and ultimately lose that baby weight. It's achievable if I put my mind to it.
Saying about hating it, I mean, that was. I find it baffling when people talk about loving running. I really do.
It's like a love-hate relationship.
I've never.
I think I love the benefits more than the actual.
The benefits are quite.
I
have this real issue with the fact that because I'm not doing the level of running that I was doing, I'm not seeing the benefits. Mm-hmm. I think the level of quote unquote running, it isn't running, and I can't stress that enough. That I'm doing now is sort of in that region of keeping me ticking over. And I know that if I want to change that, I have to change it. I have to increase the distance or reduce the time. Or I've already reduced the time recently, but like I keep saying, the exercise, the routine that I've got now for doing that 2K, it's horrible. I hate it. It makes me feel sick. And I look back over the running that I did, and I hated every step.
Yeah.
Every step I hated.
Yeah.
There was a point in time where, and I don't know whether it was a point in time or whether it was generally just a feeling that I always had, that whenever I stopped, whenever I finished a run, I'd get back, or I'd get back to the house, I'd done a run, we'd gone out, I'd done a run, I ran home from work. Whenever I finished, whenever I stopped, I never felt like that I couldn't take another step. I always felt the moment I stopped, I was like, oh man, I could have gone a bit further.
Yeah.
That was always interesting. And that was, when I was doing it, I had a level of drive that I've probably never had at that point in time. And I probably haven't got back. But I hated it.
Yeah. I think what you do, trying to do on a treadmill, I've done the treadmills myself when I used to go to the gym, and I've even tried doing training on a treadmill, and I just can't abide training on a treadmill or trying to run on a treadmill. It's just, I physically have to get out there and have a distance to run.
Road running out there on the roads, because I could not, people are like, oh, I can't run on concrete, I got to run on grass. I was the opposite. I could not run on grass for love nor money. Concrete or road running was fine for me.
Yeah.
There is a big difference when you've got different stuff to look at. When you're stood on a treadmill and you're just staring straight ahead. I've had that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Whereas now at least I can put something on as a distraction.
Yes, yeah.
But I do know what you mean. There is a massive difference with getting out and pounding the pavement
and it's
versus...
just that physically you've run... I used to, when I was doing big distance training, or training for the 10 mile before, I would run 5 miles away from the house. Because then I've got 5 miles to have to get home somehow. And ideally that would be running, but worst case, at some point you end up walking back. But you're still getting that bit of exercise and you've covered that distance. You know you can cover that distance.
I had a conversation when me, your mum and Zoe did the 10k last year.
That I should have.
Yeah, I crossed the line as Lianne. That was interesting. We had a conversation about the couch to 5k, And I was saying there is a point in the Couch to 5K that I get to every single time where the week before I'm like, this is fine. I can do this. I could do this from now until the end of time. And then the next week I'm like, I hate this. I hate every minute of it. I hate what I'm doing. I hate every aspect of it.
Is it the jump from like an 8-minute run to 20 or something?
I imagine so, but part of me thinks it comes even before that. You know, when you run for a minute and walk for 30 seconds, it's like, I could do this. You know, run for 3 minutes, walk for a minute. You know, it's all doable, it's all achievable. And I've done the Couch to 5K 3 times in the last few months. Like when I've gone, like getting back into going to the gym, I'm like, gotta go back to the running, and I'm like, right, I'm there. I'm at the last week, and I've got to run for half an hour, and I've done it. And within days of finishing it, I'm like, I'll just do 1K today because I've not really got it in me, and then I have to build it back up.
Well, that maybe you're similar to me though, that you need an actual goal to strive for to make you have to increase the running.
I need the challenge.
Yeah.
And I've never found someone that has ever been able to challenge me. I've found pussies.
Challenge you in what?
I'm very much like, I want to say to someone, I had that thing with Tom.
Yeah.
Lose a stone in December, otherwise no Christmas dinner.
Oh, I see. So you need a challenge.
And the response to that was, whether I win or lose this competition, I'm still eating a Christmas dinner. It's like, well, that defeats the point of competition.
Yeah, okay.
When I tried to get like a few other people to do a challenge at another point in time, and just got met with a resounding no.
Yeah, nobody's on board.
If somebody said to me, I challenge you to, I'm immediately on board. I'm like, what? Challenge to what? What is it?
When I mentioned that I was interested in doing the 10 mile, you said you might sign up. But if you
haven't done the 10 miles, and in theory, the way it should go is you should do a 5K, your park runs, you can do those every week. Then you should work your way up to doing a 10K, then you should work your way up to doing a 10 mile. I've never made that jump.
Yeah.
Then you should do a half marathon, and obviously the last point in time is you should do a marathon. The thought and the concept. I remember talking to you on the phone whilst you were doing the marathon, and just
like walking at that point.
Yeah,
hobbling.
But just the emotion of it all that was like coming down the phone. I mean, you weren't crying down the phone to me. You were like, "Oh, I've gone this far and I've done this much, and I'm just having a little walk." And I don't
think you can comprehend the distance.
No,
even now I
get like heart palpitations thinking about how could you possibly do 26.2 miles. And I know
it baffles me.
One foot in front of the other, but I'm the same man that started this conversation saying I can't imagine doing a 10K.
Right now.
I did two 10Ks in 2 days.
Yeah.
When I did the first York 10K, I did a 10K on the Friday to see if I could do it.
And then you did it on the Sunday.
The 10K on the Sunday.
No, I think you need to sign up for the 10 mile. Give you that. I know at the time I said, "Oh well, who would look after the baby?" But that can be sorted.
I'll put her in the sling. She'd love it.
Take her with you.
That's not. If you said to me, right, you're signed up to do the 10 mile, I'd be like, right, okay. And I would go away from that conversation going, I guess I have to train for a 10 mile then. And I would look at where I am now, look at how far away it is, do the training that they tell you to do, start by doing 2 miles and increase it by
In theory, you only need 10 weeks to...
a mile a week.
Yeah.
And you're only supposed to train to 80% because the adrenaline gets you through the last 20%. Never understood that one.
Yeah. You've got to leave your body wanting more than
that's
what it knows you
why
can do.
people collapse at 20 miles of a 26-mile race.
Yeah.
So I've never understood that. If I'm training for 10 miles, I'm going out and running 12.
Yeah.
Because then I know I can
know
do
you
10
can do
miles. It doesn't make any sense. But if you said to me, you sign up for the 10 mile, I would go and train to do a 10 mile. But that's not what gets me going.
Motivated.
That's not, you know, like I said, if somebody came to me and was like, I challenge you to, it almost wouldn't matter what it was. And I would just be hell for leather for whatever that was.
Well, I challenge you to enter the 10 mile at a faster speed than I've done it.
No, because at that point in time you were doing like a 9-minute mile, sub 9-minute mile.
I think the fastest one I've done is 1 hour and 38 minutes, so it's just under a 10-minute mile for that.
But that's an average, isn't it? Because I think you started at like an 8-minute mile and then it sort of went up and...
Yeah, maybe.
I'm not sure that
doesn't work for you.
Maybe.
Okay, well, you think on about that. But anyway, that was just that's the goal.
That is the goal.
Yeah.
Do you want me to tell you what my goal is?
If you want.
It's not my podcast.
Oh no, but you can share.
But I can share that on my podcast.
You could.
That's how, I mean, my podcast has a gym section.
Yeah,
what I'm doing in the gym these days.
I know.
But yeah, I have a dream, like a famous man once said. What do you want to talk about your games?
I don't want to talk in detail about my games, but the games that
give people a taste of what might be to come.
At the moment, the game I have on the go at the moment is Luigi's Mansion 3 on the Switch. I played that 2 nights ago for the first time in about a month.
But why was that?
So that I was ready for the podcast.
See, that's dedication for your people, right?
You're holding me accountable. I felt like I couldn't come onto the podcast and say I've been playing this game when, in reality, I hadn't. So I had to refresh my memory where I was at, and I actually switched it off in anger. But
Rage quit. My favourite.
We will revisit this. It's the first Luigi's Mansion I've played. I assume there was a 1 and a 2 on other consoles.
Yeah, there was.
So that is the game I've got on the go at the moment. I also have Zelda, the most recent one. I don't actually know the title of it off the top of my head.
Link's Awakening, is it?
Yes, on the Switch. That is still in its wrapper from...
Money well spent, people.
It will be. Still in its wrapper from Christmas, but I kind of made a promise to myself that I couldn't play it until I played more of Luigi's Mansion. It might be coming to the time where I need to play it so I can alternate between them because I'm just not inspired to put Luigi's Mansion on at the moment.
Having that structure for games sometimes works really well.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, if you've got a driving game and an RPG.
Yeah, something completely... That's
2 completely different games. That works beautifully. I've got a game that I was playing and I played it after... It's an RPG and I played it after playing an RPG and I played it for so long and went, this is not the time for this game.
Yeah.
That's not saying that I didn't like it. It's not saying it wasn't good. It's not saying that I wasn't getting everything I wanted from an RPG perspective. but I just played an RPG. It wasn't the right time for it, so I've put that to one side. I'm going to come back to it. However, it can also have that issue of you never really know what you're doing with either game.
Yeah, and I think the types of games that I end up playing on the Switch, they are very much, they're kind of immersive and draw you in. So having two in-depth games on the go, it doesn't help. So it might just be time for a break, focus on Zelda for a bit, then come back to Luigi's Mansion. Or I just give Luigi's Mansion a bit more time and effort and then...
Or you put Zelda on, you realise that that's the game that you should be playing.
Maybe
play through that game.
Yep.
And then come back to Luigi and go, I've got a lot more time for this now.
Yep.
What gets released on Friday then?
That is the other thing. So the third game
you're a massive Doom fan.
Not a massive
Doom Eternal.
Though it should be arriving on Saturday.
I should be arriving on Saturday.
Animal Crossing comes out on Friday for the Switch.
Thing.
It is on pre-order. It is a treat to myself. From my dad, technically, with some money he got for Christmas that I hadn't spent.
Big shout out to Bob.
Yep. Bob at home.
Currently in isolation, in the isolation booth, singing a song.
So that will be arriving. I last played Animal Crossing on the GameCube?
I didn't know if it was a DS game.
No, it was definitely on a console.
Then I can't imagine it was the Wii. It certainly wasn't the Wii U. So...
Might have been the Wii. Because it was at Old Walk. I'm trying to gauge time frame.
That wouldn't have been the Wii.
That would be
the
GameCube.
Wii was in the house after that.
Right.
So it would be GameCube.
GameCube days.
Ah, the GameCube. What a fantastic console that was.
Yeah.
I love the GameCube. It's great.
For what reason?
The Eternal Darkness and his Requiem.
Not Mario Party or whatever it was.
Jesus. Fuck Mario.
So so there will be 3 games to potentially update on at various points. It'll switch around depending on what I've played.
So you're giving people that bit of a taste.
Mm-hmm.
So they've tuned in, they've listened to this. They're like, I can get on board with this guy. She knows what's what. I'm also at the start of my running journey, so it'll be interesting to listen along. And it just so happens that I'm also into Nintendo Switch games.
Okay. That's good. I like this person.
But to close the deal, to lock them in so that they come back for episode 2.
Yep.
Where are we at with the movies?
Movies, so I haven't actually watched anything in the last week or 2. Prior to that, we watched It Part 2. It was not the best watch. I actually fell asleep in parts of it towards the back end.
You had a good sleep? You enjoyed your sleep?
I did. I would like to say that that's because I
wished I had a sleep.
I was exhausted, but although that is probably a factor, it was 3 hours long and it was boring.
It was shit.
It was really boring.
Really, really shit.
It didn't need to be that long.
I mean, it's one of those things, unfortunately for you, I have, and we might have to have a conversation where I can't review something, because I've reviewed it Chapter 2.
Yeah.
Check it out on the Darkest Timeline podcast. But that was at a time when you didn't have your very own podcast.
I don't think there is an issue in us both independently reviewing things on our own podcast, because it may be the same opinion, but it'll be separate perspectives. And
individual opinions are fine, but when we're talking about It Chapter 2, I don't think our opinions are in any way different.
No.
It was far too long, it was terrible, and it had awful CG in it.
Okay. I don't know
Was the review
I didn't agree on the awful CG.
CG was
from what I
terrible.
saw, but I just didn't like it. I didn't like it from the beginning, from the opening scene because that sort of stuff just upsets me. Where the guy was getting beaten up by... I don't like stuff like that. But, yeah, so that was not a good experience. And then I watched Pet Sematary. Probably about a fortnight ago.
You talked about Pet Sematary. And then I listened to a Burtcast, that one that had Michael Rosenbaum on, which was fantastic, by the way. I generally don't. That's not true. I always recommend podcasts to people. They talked about...
You missed out a key statement there. You didn't say, I was listening to a podcast. You just said, no. You just launched in saying it was a Burtcast with Michael Rosenbaum. Anyway.
I think I said I was listening to. Anyway. They had a conversation about Pet Sematary.
Right.
Michael Rosenbaum was saying how fucking awful it was. And was going through, like, the story. And I was listening to him give a breakdown of the story. And he was like, why would any of the things in that film have happened?
Well, yeah, why would anybody do these things?
Like, no, this is... I don't want to... spoiler alert. A girl gets hit by a truck.
Yeah.
And is fully intact. It's like, you get hit by a truck, you are pink mist. So there was like stuff like that in his review of that film, which made me not want to watch it.
Yeah, I've never seen the original. I had nothing to base it on. It was okay as far as horror movies go that I tend to watch. Very much fit a bill. I think the more disturbing thing since then is that our cat Dwayne looks very much like the cat.
Well, I used to call him Pet Sematary.
Yeah, and now I've started doing it because every now and then you'll just be doing something around the house and you turn around and he's just sat there staring at you, and you expect him to launch for your face or something like the cat in the film. I never understood your reference to him because I didn't.
He's too lazy for that.
He's lazy, but I didn't know what the premise of the film was. I didn't realise these people or animals were brought back to life, but not quite the same. Spoilers. The film's been out ages.
Yeah, well,
Heads
still
up,
spoilers.
People. Yeah. So that's a very quick check-in on movies I've watched. I will make a conscious effort to watch them.
It's difficult, largely because at this point in time, films are not being released.
Yeah.
We've hit a point in time
delayed.
where every single major film is saying that they're not releasing. Obviously, the biggest one from today is the announcement that Black Widow is getting, the release for that's getting put back. I mean, I can't imagine how many Disney films are now on a not getting release schedule. Mulan,
Alright.
Black Widow. They've had to bring up the release of Frozen onto the digital platform and
Frozen 2.
Something else. They've had to Star
Wars
Wars maybe. So yeah, it's quite difficult with there not being films to watch, like new stuff to watch.
Yeah.
So you would potentially have to dive
Might
back.
have to revisit some golden oldies.
I'm having the same issue with games. The games industry doesn't seem to have been hit, but that's purely because we're at the end of a console generation and nobody's making or releasing games.
Okay.
We're getting Doom and Animal Crossing on Friday.
This would be the point in time for them to get them out, because if people are going to be in lockdown at home...
Yeah, they're going to make an absolute killing. Like, Doom will sell absolute gangbusters. The next game to look forward, like the next major title to look forward to isn't until June.
Right.
And then after that, all you've got to look forward to is Cyberpunk. So, it's a
other things will crop up maybe, but...
time for games, and like I say, movies are a little bit the same. So now's the time. I've got like a backlog of games that are more of a I never finished it is the principle I'm using at the moment.
Okay, and you revisit them to finish them.
Indeed.
We touched on this in something last week, but if I did that, that would be a long list of games for me to revisit. Games that I never finished, yeah.
Pikmin.
This is the conversation we had on the other podcast. I finished Pikmin. I never finished Pikmin 2. It was too hard. There's white guys.
Yeah. True.
I do. That reminds me, there's a couple of other games I still have on the Switch.
I've got a couple of games on the Switch.
Yes, you do. Yeah.
But one that I got so far with and never finished. But the reason that I haven't played it is because I was told the game's fine all the way through, and then the last boss is utter bullshit.
Okay.
That puts me off playing it. And the other one is just a simple. I haven't had the time.
I had the it was Donkey Kong. I can't remember which one. It was a remake of an old one, Tropical something or other. It was an old game. And the last Zelda game. It was just so long.
Yeah.
And I started moving through different lands. There was the one with too much heat. As opposed to cold.
That game had one major mechanic that I just couldn't get past.
Which was what?
The weapons. No matter what weapon you got, no matter what it looked like, no matter how strong it should be, you could only hit things 6 times and then your weapon was broken. No matter what it was.
Okay.
Like a skeleton arm, like a bone.
Yes.
Versus a sword.
Yeah.
You could use them a certain number of times, then they broke, no matter what it was.
Yeah.
Like, that's just weird. And then there were points where you didn't have any weapons.
I was getting into sections where I needed to kill monsters to take something from him, like you're saying, a skeleton arm or a spear or something, to carry on fighting, but I just wasn't generating enough weapons to be able to get through the monsters there. Yeah.
It was a very strange concept of a game.
There was lots of just big areas. Yeah, it was tricky. One day, maybe, we'll go back to it. When I haven't got any others to play.
Mothers.
So I think that brings us to a sort of wrap. Probably rambled on a bit longer than they intended to for this introduction to Up Liante. I don't know if it sounds of any interest to people out there, but come on the journey with us. Help it evolve. Leave comments, suggestions. All that good stuff. Okay. Well, thank you for listening. That's a wrap.
Cool. There we go then. You have to do the cameras.
Which one?
Oh.
Top one.
Oh, yeah. So there you go. What do you think to that? A new podcast, a new host, new. YouTube watchers, make sure you're subscribing, liking, sharing, commenting, and all the good stuff like that. Everybody jump over to the Cookiecast.com, send us some social media love, or send us an email with some love. Whichever you want. That's it for this one, so tune in to next time, and any of the Cookiecast podcasts that are coming your way. Till then, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then. Bye.